In the lead up to my hands-on time with Nioh 2, I did my due diligence and went back to finally finish the first game, which I hadn't quite seen through to the end. I felt pretty good going into the sequel's demo with a fresh understanding of Nioh's unique brand of fast-paced, key pulse, and stance-centric combat. At first, things felt pretty good. I was breezing past most enemies without too much trouble, especially because many enemies are ripped directly from Nioh 1. Nothing, however, could prepare me for the absolute terror that was Maeda Toshiie. And yes, I now know that he was in the beta, so I guess technically I could have prepared by playing the beta, but I didn't, and this was my first time experiencing him, and, well, I'm sorry. But before we get to that, let's just put it out there that Nioh 2 is hard, largely in the same ways that its predecessor was. Enemies are relentless in their aggression, and now they have even more dangerous attacks that are telegraphed by a red aura. Fortunately, you've got new tools too. Those dangerous red aura attacks can be burst countered to inflict massive stamina damage on opponents. It often feels like Nioh 2 was balanced by making sure that for every new tool that the players received, something else was added to make things even more difficult. Sure, players now have access to a number of powerful yokai abilities that could easily turn the tide of a battle, but now you'll frequently find yourself having to fight enemies in dark realms, which dramatically impedes your key recovery ability. You can now easily summon NPCs into your game to help you out even when you're playing offline, but in order to get the currency needed to summon them, you need to beat powerful revenants left by fallen players. And sure, you now have the ability to counter dangerous abilities with a burst counter, but that also means enemies are more likely to use those dangerous abilities, like these ninjas that will always use a suicide attack once they start getting critically low on life, just like in Ninja Gaiden 2. Back to Maeda, the first of two bosses I fought during my playtime of Nioh 2. My first attempt went pretty well with the summoned AI to assist me, but I have this thing where I like to overcome bosses by myself the first time through. While the switchglaive that I had from the start of the demo felt sufficiently powerful enough to deal with all the regular enemies leading up to Maeda, it felt as deadly as a feather against this Quan Dao wielding monster. So my strategy, for the most part, revolved around staying aggressive and attempting to deplete his ki meter so I could land a powerful execution attack while he was stunned. The problem is, it's very hard to remain aggressive when you also have to balance management of your own ki to ensure that you don't leave yourself stunned and vulnerable. After what felt like 100 attempts, I finally managed to take him down after reaching deep into my bag of ninjutsu and onmyo magic and finding two things that seemed to work exceptionally well. Caltrops, which would briefly interrupt him whenever he came forward to attack, and a sloth talisman, which would temporarily slow him down to the point where I could maneuver to his back when he was in the windup for an attack. Despite the mental stress that went with the thought of potentially not beating the demo due to this boss, I still love the fight against Maeda Toshiie, not only because of the mechanical aspect of it just being a really fast-paced fight with tough but fair timing windows, but because I was able to take a step back, look through my available abilities, and equip myself with tools that help me alleviate the parts of the fight that were giving me trouble. It's this level of flexibility in Nioh 2's combat that is most exciting, and while Maeda Toshiie almost broke me, it only made my anticipation for Nioh 2's release on March 13th all the stronger. For more Nioh 2, check out my commentary on the second big boss of the demo that I played, Shibata Katsue. Also be sure to check out the most recent story trailer. And for everything else, keep it here on IGN.
Next Gen Console Watch 2020 is IGN's weekly show reporting on all the latest PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X news. We'll bring on experts to discuss and analyze all the latest developments of what's coming to the new generation of consoles. Join us weekly on Fridays at 8 a.m. Pacific.